ground, puts it back in the ground in a way that it can't be used. That don't make no sense. As much as possible, we need to avoid that one-way street. You guys are wearing sort of matching shirts. Hey, Gabe, what are you going to wear today? Okay, cool, me too. See you later, buddy. Bye. Oh, you got shorts on? Okay, I'll bring my white socks. You got your white socks? Okay, cool. You got white laces and white sole, black shoes? Yeah, me too. Okay, see you later. Hey, wait. Let's go get our haircut. Yeah, okay, later. I just noticed, I'm sorry, I get really distracted. It's so hard doing this all day. It's so hard, I say the same stuff over and over. I'm really stressed out about the meeting later, and so I get distracted. I'm sorry, I'm not picking on it. Okay. It is embarrassing. You look great, dude. What are you embarrassed about? By the way, you're putting my friend Kristen's kids through college. He does all the art around for a weekend. So thanks. He's a good guy. There's a okay, my turn. There's a number of different ways to avoid this one-way street. And so I'll try to clarify all of this terminology up here. First of all, the materials economy, you might remember from the story of stuff, extraction, manufacturing, retail, consumer, and disposal. We can attack every part of that line to cut out waste. For one thing, we can reduce waste by making things differently. That's called source reduction. We'll have a lot less trash if we're building less trash. We make all sorts of stuff today that can never be recycled. It is built to go in the garbage. Like, anybody have a coffee cup? Like a one-time use coffee cup? Yeah, the wax paper, that can't be recycled. That's made to be in a landfill with you holding it for about 40 minutes. If you think about it, all the soda cups, like when you go to the movie theater and you get like that big thing, like, okay, you're going to hold that for an hour and 45 minutes, but then it's going to go to a landfill. There's no option for reuse or recycle because that's been made to go in a landfill. It's just a stupid manufacturing method. Yeah?
In a lot of foreign countries, bottles, they use the glass bottles. Why does it have to?
Well, that has a significant carbon cost. And a lot of those countries have very localized production because they don't have the same distribution networks that we do. So, for example, in Argentina, when you finish with your soda bottle, you take it to your liquor store. They'll take it to the bottling plant, which is probably within an hour's drive. So the carbon cost is minor, the fuel cost is minor, but glass is expensive.
Yeah, they had this, like, well, like a pure bottle of glass would cost like an extra, like, 50 cents and then brought it back to that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing here.
It's all over the world, and it used to be the same thing here until recently.
Yeah, it was like a lot more.
But we have exploded what's called the economy of scale. It's much cheaper now to make that glass disposable if you can cut corners in a different part of the system. So we have really long distance distribution networks. We've dialed all the algorithms to make it a one-way street at roughly the same price as the hassle of the two-way street. So people are expensive, shipping is expensive. So let's just simplify the system and just go one way. It is possible for us to make less trash if we make things differently. For example, wouldn't it be nice if all your electronic devices had the same type of plug so you could use one charger?
Not even Apple would have to change it. You buy another charger.
Of course, and within companies, they change this all the time. And so think of all the chargers we have to make, purchase, use, and then dump into the garbage. I don't know about you, I've got a tub, like a big plastic tub of expired chargers.
When you make it like more modular, you get basically the thing that breaks on a charger, just a cord.
Yeah, or a capacitor that burns out that you can fix anyway.
Yeah, but the cord is like a tiny little
Yeah.
and you like the main thing is the transformer, which has a lot of metal in it.
Yeah. That's the big cost.
Yeah.
You know,
You can just keep that.
there's a zillion simple solutions. Like, as consumers, we want that. But the business of that is not necessarily optimal, and usually business wins. So I'll remind you, one way would be to just demand that things are made differently. And we could. Like, we could vote for that. We could just support those companies and not the alternatives. But of course, what could be sexier than 4S? Yeah, exactly. The 5S? Duh. They're going to come out with the 5S, right?
Yeah, like
Month and a half? I am such a careful consumer. I follow these things. Okay, next. There's another place you can cut out your waste, and that's your personal decisions. This has been my personal obsession since I was your age. I am definitely more wasteful than the average human. But I like to think I'm less wasteful than the average American. Somewhere in the middle there. I'm no hero, I'm no angel, I take convenience over ecological benefit all the time. But there's a zillion ways you could use less, buy less, fix things more. Why do we all have to own our own lawnmower and our own ladder? You can just have the block ladder and just share. We hate share. We hate talking to our neighbors. How many of you don't know the name of one of your next door neighbors? We should be ashamed. We could do things ourselves. Like, I didn't have to buy this backpack because I made it out of garbage. We could just live more simply. Like, wouldn't it be nice to not have to worry about the impact of all your electronics because you just opted to live without some or all of those electronics? Believe it or not, people do it all the time. Oh God, yes. My daughter, she broke her flip-flops, and we had this ongoing science project for 3 weeks trying to let her figure out how to fix her flip-flops. It was rad, totally instructional, totally ecologically righteous. Coincidentally, it didn't work, but it was a good experience for her to tinker and engineer solutions. It's mental activity instead of just shopping. I'm almost out of time. But of course, there are some things that we could not make differently, and we either cannot or we choose not to address our personal decisions, so they end up in the garbage. Now look, this is the key issue. Some stuff has to be disposed of, but the last chance you've got is once it's become garbage, get it out of the landfill. You need to know this. The vocabulary term is diversion. It is keeping trash out of the landfill by doing something else with it. Like reusing it, repurposing it, recycling, composting, digesting to make methane, or maybe incinerating if you can find the right type of incinerator. There is an entire economy of reuse that I'll bet you don't know about. In our American economy, billions of dollars are reused every year. You probably own one of these reused items and you may not know it. Anybody know? Car parts. Scrap yards?
Oh yeah, when you get a new car part, you normally don't get a brand new car part, you get an old one that they fixed.
Yeah. Or remanufactured, or maybe just an old one that they haven't fixed, or just scavenged.
You can't find new engines.
There are whole economies of reuse, and we could do more of that. We could make our electronics work like cars, we just don't care. Finally, some stuff has to go to a landfill. And nowadays, landfills in the U.S. have to be what's called a sanitary landfill. Even if the bell rings, I'd like to tell you what the requirements are for a sanitary landfill. Does everybody know how coffee works? You take the ground coffee beans, pour water, and what comes out?
Water with
Coffee that has taken some stuff out of the coffee beans. It's water plus the runoff of the coffee. I can do this in 45 seconds. When you put water through garbage, you get leachate, which is a toxic garbage soup. So, to make a sanitary landfill, you need to, first of all, have an impermeable layer, usually clay or plastic, underneath, so the leachate can't reach the groundwater. Second, you have to collect that leachate and sometimes treat it, so you see those wells are slurping up the coffee juice. Third, you have to monitor the groundwater under the landfill to make sure that you're not leaking leachate. And finally, you got to prevent animals and wind from blowing the garbage around. So in a sanitary landfill, every day they use what's called the daily cover and compaction, where you squeeze the garbage and cover it with dirt. We have a sanitary landfill in Santa Barbara County up in Taquitas, just north of Refugio. You can get free tours there. Thanks for staying. We finished the unit.